Yeah, so I'm the CEO of Spacemakers, a company that is actually creating virtual spaces for companies all over the world. And actually, who has been here for the workshop before when you were doing the Lego workshop? Like, can you raise your hand? So yeah, a couple of people. Because we are doing this every day for our clients, so we need to brainstorm like how to utilize the virtual spaces for their needs. And over the past 5 years, we have actually created like spaces for more than 150 companies. We have created 200 spaces. And we are working on different like use cases. The first one is remote offices, where people are coming every day, so they are working remotely. And the main reason for that is that they don't have physical office. So, and by that I want to say that you always need to have a look on the virtual spaces from the perspective what kind of issue it helps you to solve. Because I don't believe that virtual spaces should substitute the real world meetings like this one, or substitute the personal conversations and so on. But there are occasions where you cannot meet with other people, where they are in different country, where they are on different continent, or they have special needs, so they cannot travel, or they need to stay at home. And in those situations, like virtual spaces can really come to play because they offer you the freedom to do whatever you want in the virtual environment. And what I like to say to our clients when we are brainstorming and when we are creating virtual spaces is you need to think about the space, the virtual space, as you would think about your physical space, because it works exactly the same. You have your own avatar, you are walking around, and it depends to whom you are in close proximity, because with those people you can actually have conversations, and you can really replicate the real world principles into virtual spaces. And those are very well implemented in the events, because you can really gather hundreds of people to one spot, and everyone creates their own program and their own experience by walking around the virtual space, and depending on what stage they will go. So for example, if we talk about UFF, we can create that in virtual space, and each stage would have their own space, their own like location in the virtual space. And if you would walk into that room, you would hear the conversations there, you would hear the presentations, you would be able to rewatch the presentations and interact with people there. And the last but not least is educational spaces. I will show you some examples later on. But we are creating like university campuses where students are going every day because they don't have physical campus, for example, some of the universities. And they can interact with other students in this environment, because you are not just on a Zoom call where you see the participants, and then if the meeting or the election is off, then you don't have the opportunity to speak others. But if you are in the virtual campus where you are going every day, you can see the people there, and you can actually just walk over and talk to them as you would in the real world. So as I said, we have created more than 200 spaces for 150 companies, and more than 40,000 people actually visited the virtual spaces that we have created. I think it's also important to explain the differences between the platforms that are available on the market. And for the sake of simplification, there are like three main types of the platforms that you can use. Because anytime you would design a virtual space, you need to make a decision, as I said before, what kind of issue you would like to solve. Is it connecting people? Is it building relationships? Is it like passing some kind of information to participants, like that you would like them to have special experience, like go through gallery, watch some art, and so on. And for all of those use cases, there are different platforms. So the first one, my favorite one actually, is 2D platforms that offers you a top-down view to the virtual environment, where you are just walking with your avatar to left, right, up, and down. And it's super easy to use and super user-friendly, which is like really important from my side, because it's you can make life too complicated for people, because otherwise they will just leave and they will not fully utilize the platform that what it offers. So the 2D platforms like Gather Town or Work Adventure, where we have actually created the replica of this building and of this room. We can have a look afterwards. Are those 2D platforms, and they are very good for relationship building, for remote offices, because you can go there every day. It's super easy to use. You can invite clients over. They can just walk over to other people and interact with them. The other type of platforms are actually 3D platforms. So if you have ever played like FPS game or GTA, you are walking around from like first-person view, so like in the real world, and you are working in 3D environment. But it's much more difficult for people that didn't play computer games, and it's also harder to understand what is happening there in the virtual environment. So those kind of platforms are good for like visual experiences. So it's not about relationship building, it's not about connecting people that much, but it's more about presenting different types of content like videos, art pieces, whatever it is, to the audience that you would like to do. And I will show you later on an example of Belgium project, which is about intercultural dialogue, and they have created a gallery with artists from all over the world, where you can just walk around and see what they have done in past. So there is a permanent exhibition, and then there is temporary exhibition, where they are exhibiting like art pieces from artists created just for the virtual environment. And the third one is maybe some of you are familiar with that, but are like 3D platforms that are not rendered. I will now go more a bit into technical details, but not rendered in your browser, which actually offers much higher level of details to be experienced on your device. But it's also much more expensive and harder to build, because you are basically building computer game in Unreal Engine, and then this is being rendered on cloud servers and just pixel streamed to your computer. Not many people can actually visit those spaces at the same time, and the infrastructure costs for those projects are like immense. So there are like examples of what companies are doing on it, but it's just for sake of like advertising and brand building, and there are not like real world use cases where you can actually utilize it. So it just looks nice, but there are no like, from my perspective, good utilizations. So I will just show you a couple of our projects that we have done, and I will explain like the process behind it. So the one behind me is actually headquarters of EA Games, because in 2024 we have hosted an event for all of their employees in Vancouver. And why we did it online is that all of their employees are working remotely since COVID, and they wanted to bring them they can just chit-chat within their team. So there are dedicated spaces for each department, each team. So they can connect in a way that would not be possible on Google Teams, because they would just come there, and there you would have like one presentation, which would be cool, but you cannot really talk to other people. And they also want to have the main presentation of the CEO on football stadium. So I believe this is Tottenham Football Stadium that was on the map. And then everyone just walked over to the stadium place and listened to the presentation of the CEO of EA Games. And then for the whole day, they were just walking around, playing games, doing competitions, and talking to their colleagues. So the main like brief from them was, we want to bring our colleagues together so they can like talk to each other. Everyone was walking around with their avatars, and we want to do it in our HQ. So we want to give them the feeling that they are back in the office, but they are not really coming back there. The next one, I will also show you some numbers about it, but was event for a company called Hype, and they were doing HR conference or like conference to find employees for companies, and they were searching for people that were willing to work remotely. So there is no point in doing like those kind of sessions offline, because you try to hire remote people. And they hosted 2-day long conference. They found partners mainly from Web3 companies, and whoever came to the platform, to the visual space, they could visit the booths of the companies that were searching for the new employees, and they can talk directly to their HR department, and they can leave their how do you call it in English? Your resume directly on the platform. So again, the main advantage of hosting it on virtual on this platform was that everyone had freedom to decide where they would like to go, to which companies they would like to speak, to like which HR departments they would like to send their like resumes, and then also listen to the presentations and talk to other participants, or even like approach directly the presenters directly on the in the space. And then the last one is actually the project that we did for Belgium organization WOOM, who is actually non-profit organization, and they are promoting and they are working in field of intercultural dialogue in Belgium, and they are spread all across Belgium, and they have offices all across Belgium. So the main reason to do this is that they have a like virtual digital space where they can host their events, where they can work together, and where they can host workshops, sessions, and so on, but also cooking classes. So they also hosted cooking classes directly on the platform. And again, you can imagine it that you join the space and you just walk wherever you would like to and talk to other people that have the similar interest. This is an example of a French company, and they are fully remote, and they needed to connect employees all over France and also Spain. So we have created a virtual space where more than 50 people are coming every day. There was an example on the table number 2, I believe, in the back, where you had like the red light that you don't want to be interrupted when you are in the virtual space. And this is actually exactly in this space, that you have zones where you can walk over, and if you are in that zone, it's like red light that you don't want to be interrupted, that you have deep work or you have like call on other platform, and that way people recognize that. You don't want to be interrupted or like interfered or whatever. And also the advantage of that was that the company was able to visualize the split of their different departments into the map. So the tables of each department were close to other departments that they should cooperate with. And they were just walking over around the map and simplifying the overall communication within the company. As I mentioned before, like the other example is internal events. This is example for Swiss company where we hosted a workshop and hackathon where the employees were coming with 3 different like backgrounds. The first one is that they already had a team and they already had an idea like what they would like to solve on the hackathon. The second one was that they had a team, but they didn't have an idea. And the third one was that they don't have idea and they don't have a team. And so we visually structured that into the map. So people were coming into different cohorts, and then they were coming to the stage presenting their idea. And if someone was interested in the idea, they could join their team. So the visual and the virtual space actually helped them to form the teams. And then after forming the teams, they were spread into, like you can see them around, they were spread into different meeting rooms, and they were working on the project for the next week. And at the end of the project, they came to the main stage, as I showed here before, and presented their like solution to everyone who was involved in the project. The next offline, and then they are streamed online. But this was a release of computer game, Arma 4 or something like that. And they wanted to do the experience directly in the map of the game of Arma. So basically we took the maps from the game itself and hosted the virtual press conference directly in the space. So they wanted to pass the experience of the game directly to the journalists. So they have like the first glimpse of how will the game look like. And also they were inviting journalists from all over the world. So they cannot bring them to one physical locations, but they were able to bring them in one spot on the virtual platform. And like super easily interact with them, right? So if anyone had question, they can just raise a hand. Directly into space, because they were just walking around and chit-chatting for another 90 minutes after the actual conference. And then the last one is the event that I mentioned before. So here you can see the booth. So basically people were just walking around to like Binance booth or the Sweat booth and just talking to the employees of those companies. And then I have the last one, which is my favorite one also because it's here on the university. And this is the French university called Capivo. And they have like 100 students every day visiting the campus. And the campus has multiple classes where the sessions are happening every day. So the students are just coming, instead of coming to physical campus, they are coming to the digital campus where they are working with other students, but also visiting the sessions that they have signed up for. And they basically just walk to the room where the session is happening. And again, it's helping to solve the issue of not having the space to build relationship if you are educating yourself online, because you can only chat with and this project is actually very successful. They started with like 50 students like 2 years ago, and now like over like 100 students is actually going there every day. And that's it from my side. So if you have any questions or if you would be interested in any like project more, I'm happy to talk about it.